Many women go through postpartum depression. Most get the treatment and help they need, but what about those women who are left out? In an article published by the Washington Post on February 16th, 2022, a woman by the name of Bethany Riddick stated that she experienced having postpartum depression nearly immediately after giving birth to her son in March 2020. Riddick began having suicidal thoughts. She did not want to read, watch television, pull herself out of bed, and due to the coronavirus pandemic, she felt even more isolated. She attempted to reach out for help, but was turned down, with agencies being super dry and cut. And then was faced with aggravating tones and asked if they can provide resources for low-income folks. Her lack of access to mental health providers and financial challenges were all too common result for low-income women trying to reach out for help. In a study by the National Library of Medicine, 43.3% of Hispanic, 46.8% of and Black women reported postpartum depression. Lack of support and socioeconomic status were all factors to not receiving help, while only 30.3% of white women reported the same factors. Now, let's quickly go over what postpartum depression is. Postpartum depression is a serious mental illness that involves the brain and affects the women's behavior and physical health. An example of this can be feeling sad or unconnected with your baby. Now that we've addressed what postpartum depression is, we'll talk about why there is a lack of resources for low-income women, what are the effects, and what we can do to help all low-income women get the resources they need. In an article issued by Parent Magazine staff on August 18th, 2022, researchers at the Icahn School of Medicine and Mount Sinai in New York City found that there are racial and ethnic disparities in receiving mental health care for postpartum depression. Black women are 57% less likely to start postpartum depression treatment, while white women are only 17%. The study was based on a telephone survey of 655 white women and Hispanic mothers, African American mothers, who had all given birth 2 to 6 weeks earlier. In a post by the Los Angeles Times on July 16th, 2022, 1 in 7 women experienced postpartum depression, mood disorders after the birth of their children. Researchers have found that Black and Latina women may be particularly vulnerable to developing postpartum mood and anxiety disorders due to not attaining their pre-pregnant weight by the 6th week of postpartum depression. In a system that should be helping out every mother, they have failed to help low-income women, especially Black and brown women, the assistance they need to help them go through postpartum depression. Now that we have talked about why there is a lack of access for these women, we'll talk about what has occurred, what's going on. On a post by the Daily Mail on September 15th, 2022, Erin Meredy was an African American mom who was facing postpartum depression and was left untreated and alone. She developed chronic depression and had domestic incidents reported with her children because of her depression interfering bonding with her kids. But many neighbors and family members were under the impression that she was a good mother. According to the National Alliance of Mental Health Illness, on July 26, 2021, when it comes to mental illness, Black individuals are less likely to receive treatment. than nearly any other racial ethnic group. There are also many social factors, such as living in poverty, lack of access to healthcare, good quality healthcare as well, trauma that Black and brown women go through, and that's the reason they didn't get help. Erin Meredy was then charged with 3 counts of second-degree murder, counts that deprived indifference to human life, and 3 counts of murder, with all victims being under 11 years old. Erin was a mother of 3 who was facing postpartum depression, and due to her lack of access to help, her harming and eventually killing her children were all to a result of that. Now, on to my next point, what we should do. There's a lot of things that we can do to help postpartum depression and help many women get the treatment they need. In a recent Washington Post on May 12, 2022, nonprofits like the Maroon Calabash Black Doula Collaborative provides prenatal birth and postpartum support for Black families and gives them assistance they need. The House of Representatives, Black Mental Health Caucus has introduced legislation to provide training for about 30,000 doulas and expand postpartum Medicaid coverage from 60 days to 12 days as a part of the Momness Act. In an article released by Y.org on April 10, 2022, Maternity Health Care Coalition is working with Philadelphia's Department of Behavioral Health to increase screening and train more providers to be able to train postpartum depression. Penn State Psychiatry is expanding its mental health care services at the Helen Dickens Center, which provides OBGYN care for low-income women. This will help more Black and brown women get treatment they need and not have to go through postpartum depression alone. Another solution that can help Black and brown women is therapy. The National Alliance on Mental Health gives resource providers such as melanin and mental health care and mental health, and the National Black Doula Association. This will help more Black and brown women talk about their depression and go through the process of healing. The Biden administration has also passed a bill on how low-income women and mothers will have a good access to quality health care, and will make sure mothers, especially in urban areas, don't have to go through this alone. The Omnibus Act has been passed in 2021, which helps low-income women, especially women of color, Black and brown women, get the help they need.